Hi, and welcome to Michigan Matters. There's an increase in homelessness driven by our nation's affordability crisis. On any given night, over 8,000 people across Michigan are homeless, which is why we're talking with Megan Dunn of Covenant House, Michigan, Ryan Hertz of Lighthouse, and Veronica Scott of the Empowerment Plan about it and solutions. Then we spotlight Life Directions, an organization helping young people have a brighter future. We'll hear from their CEO and meet two leaders being honored by the organization. It's a show about confronting homelessness and giving a boost to more young people. Let's get started.
From CBS Detroit, this is Michigan Matters with Carol Kane. Michigan Matters is brought to you in part by Cure Auto Insurance.
And we're joined by Megan Dunn of Covenant House, Michigan, Ryan Hertz of Lighthouse, and Veronica Scott of the Empowerment Plan, here to talk about the growing homeless crisis we have in Michigan, across the country, basically. I'm so glad you guys are here to talk about it because this is such a critical topic. Before we dive in on the issues, I just want to ask you each to give like a quick thumbnail of your organization and how you help with this homelessness crisis. And Veronica, why don't you kick it off?
Okay. I run an organization that is really focused on generational homelessness, and we do that by hiring individuals, primarily women with children, from shelters across the city, like Covenant House, actually, and we employ these individuals for about 2 years before they go into other jobs. And while they're with us, they're making coats that turn into sleeping bags that we give out globally to those in need.
That's amazing. And Ryan, talk about your organization, what you do.
Sure. So Lighthouse is focused on poverty alleviation. We do focus on homelessness within that context.
Yeah.
We provide emergency services. In the realm of homelessness, that would include emergency shelter, eviction prevention, and rental assistance, utility assistance. We then provide transitional housing, rapid rehousing, supportive housing, and we actually develop affordable housing as well.
Wow. And Megan?
Carol, thanks for having us here today, and I'm so happy to be with these two. They're just amazing in this space. At Covenant House, we work with 18 to 24-year-olds, so specifically honed in on young people. We provide 2 different housing options, an emergency shelter and transitional housing. Offer wraparound services individualized for young people because everyone has a different story and a different background. Our goal really is to put them on their journey to self-sufficiency, independence, and on their journey home.
How bad is the homeless crisis here in our region? You're all on the front lines of this. Just give me, if you can, an anecdote or example of how important and how telling this is.
So I was just recently part of the PIT count, which is the point-in-time count done. It depends on the county, but we were a part of Wayne County's PIT count, and we did Out Wayne, which was like Dearborn and Dearborn Heights. And I have to say, it is devastating when you see people sleeping in their cars. Yeah. You know, we were told to go to Planet Fitness parking lots and places where people can access sanitation and take care of themselves. And when you talk to these individuals, a lot of them have jobs. Yeah. They're sleeping in their car. They may have family with them. They may have children with them. And for me, that's a devastating signal that something is seriously wrong. Yeah. And across the state of Michigan, you are seeing more and more people experiencing homelessness in rural communities, areas that don't have shelters, that don't have soup kitchens, that don't have access to these things. And so that's people rough sleeping in the woods or in their car.
Yeah, and I know, Megan, you too, you are focused particularly with young people. And I know we typically think of older people when it comes to homeless, but younger people, it's a growing crisis.
And that's why I appreciate having this conversation today. When we think about homelessness, most people in their minds think of the person where it's very clear. They either have the sign or they're on the side of the road. When we think about young people, to your point, many of them are working or looking to finish school. I often call them as almost the silent group, the silent generation of homelessness, or those experiencing homelessness. And we're seeing an increase based on that very same PIT count that we were a part of.
And I know we've got just a little short time here, Brian, before we go to break. More families who are falling under this rubric of being homeless here. It's not just a young person, it's the mother, the father, the grandparent, whatever, with a child or what have you. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, so similar to Covenant House, Lighthouse does provide runaway and homeless youth shelter programs, and similar to Veronica's focus on intergenerational situations. We made a strategic decision several years ago to move from providing emergency shelter to the general population to specifically targeting families with children, because we saw both locally, statewide, and nationally. While it's true that homeless numbers are as high as they've ever been in this country, that's not across the board the case. The trend line in some subpopulations is flat or down, but the increase in families with children is outpacing that to the degree that the overall population continues to increase. And it's different than it's been in the past. Seeing families with kids so highly represented in the homeless population marks a shift from situations that are predominantly driven by the experience of the individual and their inability to navigate our current economy to just our housing market not meeting the needs of our workforce.
And that doesn't even get into the affordability crisis of being able to afford homes, but that's another issue. We're going to take a quick break. Keep right here. We're back with more Michigan Matters right after this. Welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're talking with Megan Dunn of Covenant House, Michigan, Ryan Hurst of Lighthouse, and Veronica Scott of the Empowerment Plan about homelessness, our region, our state, our country. And boy, how are we doing as a region collectively at embracing and doing solutions to better address how to help people who are homeless? And I don't know, of the three of you who's been doing this the longest in your respective jobs, flip a coin.
I don't know. I think Ryan's been doing it the longest.
All right, Ryan, go for it. We'll start with you
then.
Well, how do you think we're doing?
Well, I think every region right now is honestly reeling a little bit from the dramatic shifts in federal policy that are really challenging long-held beliefs and strategies on how we've worked together and collaborated across our continuums of care. I think as a country and also therefore as a region, we're struggling very much in the area of housing affordability. I know that folks want to focus on household level and say, well, if we can help people earn more income, help with education and workforce, the reality is every time you add a high-income job to an economy, you're adding 4 to 6 low to mid-income jobs to that economy. And if we don't think about housing as an affordability issue for the whole economy and only think about the low to mid-income folks, we miss the entire.
But we're hearing conversations coming out. Mayor Sheffield, who just came in, she just started in January, she's talking about this is a priority for her. We're hearing the governor talking about more affordability housing to make it, again, something particularly for young people who cannot afford this, right?
Our local governments have been stepping up. Our local and state governments have been stepping up. I think the challenge is that that should be something that's happening on top of the strategies that have happened historically, and at this point isn't even able to keep up with making up the difference, so to speak.
A part of it, Carol, it has to be a both and, right? Like we have to continue to serve and perhaps funding for emergency shelter. It's still a significant need on the front end of this, right? On the front end of the continuum. But to your point, and this is something that Covenant House is considering as a part of our future, is how are we providing deeply affordable housing for young people who are ready to.
How do you think we're doing?
Well, from that
you can be honest. This is what we're.
You know,
put it out there.
To be quite honest, it's not a one size fits all. So there are different government models around permanent supportive housing and even transitional. But this group is very unique in that many of them, as we mentioned earlier, are working. Many of them are on the trajectory to really transform their lives. So they may not need those two models, but they need something where they're able to live independently, but they have support services on an as-needed basis.
Right, and I know too, Veronica, with empowerment coats that are being made. This is all, you're chipping away a little bit at a time here at this with what you're doing. You've made what, over 100,000 of the?
Yeah, we've made and distributed 100,000 of our sleeping bag coats across the entire U.S. and over 20 other countries. And so you can see what cities do. You can see how each community handles their most vulnerable people and what they do to support them and what works and what really doesn't work. And there's some great things that happen when, one, obviously the biggest thing is the affordable housing, and two, also treating people like individuals, not expecting there to be a silver bullet or a one-size-fits-all situation or a cream that will fix everything. All of us are running different organizations that are equally vital for different populations, and we can be specialized. The more that we can drill down and focus on certain populations and do that well, the better the whole ecosystem works. But if you take one of us out,
Yeah.
or you send people, or just send people to wherever they fit rather than the best fit for them, then you run into issues where you're trying to get people housed that need a different type of housing or a different
right.
type of support. So that communication is critical.
We have heard for years about veterans coming back, and then they have, there's mental health issues, and oftentimes when it comes to homeless, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's very high with many of them are veterans, right?
Yeah, that is one of the subpopulations, though, where we have seen actual progress
Yeah,
and a degree of success.
And why has there been progress?
Prioritization,
Hyper-focus from the
Yeah.
government. Yep.
Yeah, when we see targeted resources. Actually, I think this is part of the challenge that we face, is that we tend to think overly targeted sometimes, and we don't realize how much more expensive that is than thinking about homelessness from the same perspective we might think about, say, like agricultural subsidies. When you think about it from the framework of everybody needs a home, everybody needs to be able to buy produce, et cetera. We have strategies where we don't stigmatize that food is expensive. We don't stigmatize people for food being expensive. We do stigmatize low to mid-income people for not being able to afford housing, when really housing is unaffordable across the spectrum, and we can look at interventions that are far, far upstream that benefit all the subpopulations.
Megan, you get the very last word here. If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing to help this crisis be better, what would it be?
What I would love is more advocacy. So a part of this is intervention, prevention, intervention, and then there's aftercare. We have to work through all three of those really to look at this holistically. Emergency shelter isn't the one answer. Neither is affordable housing, but it is a conversation around the entire continuum and having that individualized approach. And that, I think, is what is going to continue to move the needle in all of our populations and how we work together.
And I know there's so much more to say, and this is such an important topic. Unfortunately, we're out of time. But I'll have you guys back and continue the conversation as we go through the year here and, again, put a focus on it. Thank you so much for all you're doing, and thank you for being here to talk about it.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. And keep it right here. We're back with more Michigan Matters, and we'll talk more about the community after this. We're back and talking with Father John Phelps, who's President and CEO of Life Directions, a nonprofit helping young people through mentorships and other things, and two longtime friends of the show, Claude Molinari, President and CEO of Visit Detroit, and Ryan Sullivan, CEO of the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy, who are connected to this organization. Great to have you guys with us.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
So Father John, let's talk about Life Directions. And I know you've been involved with it from the beginning. When did it start, and what's the mission?
Well, it started when I started it in 1973, back in October. And I came to the city of Detroit because at that time, it was the murder capital of the country. And I wanted to get to the cause of violence. So in order to do that, after a month study, I found another person who wanted to do the same thing, and a family with 6 children. And we put this together, and we had an ethnic Hispanic sister at Western International High School, was Western High School at the time. And we said, now if we can stop young people from dropping out of school and make school work for them, we've now got to the solution to the problem. We want to solve the problem before it happens.
That's it. It's a preventative thing. And Ryan, you're a board member, or have been, right?
I was a board member previously, yes.
Okay. So why? Tell me your involvement with it. How important is it, the preventative portion of this?
Yeah, I think it's critically important, and my time on the board, I got to see that from a different vantage point than anyone would otherwise, and you see the difference in the impact that this makes in the lives, and as Father can tell you more about, it's multi-generational. So yes, the presence at Western High School, but also people that have graduated and moved on, parents in the Southwest Detroit community as well. So seeing that multi-generational approach and the impact that has on communities, on families, and then the broader impact on the overall community.
And Ryan, you and Claude are both being honored at an upcoming the Spark of Hope Gala, which is taking place May 9th at the Winter Garden at Renson, and getting both getting big awards here. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Claude, you have been involved in so many community initiatives through your work at Visit Detroit and from Huntington Place before that. And I know that the preventative angle, particularly when it comes to young people and reaching out, is important to you too, right?
Oh, no question. And I think the intervention, stopping a problem before it becomes a real tragic situation, is critical. And that's why Life Directions has such an important role to play in helping the youth of Michigan.
Well, and I know you're both following the footsteps of a lot of big luminaries from here. Last year it was Rod Alberts and Patrick Ruggiero, and I know that Ernie Harwell and other leaders have been given awards, again, for their help with young people, right?
Yes, absolutely. Frank Venegas and Matt Cullen, and we could keep on going.
We could keep going and fill up who's been part of this. So it's...
Well, the beauty is that each one of them represented our values, and our values is take charge of your own life.
Yeah.
If you see yourself as a victim, that's your choice. You can take your responsibility for that. And you do that when you take responsibility for your own choices, like if there's a trauma that comes to your life, like the pandemic,
right.
Take charge of your life. Then you're going to find people that you think were against you become your partners. So now you shift out of seeing the enemy as your friend, and then all of a sudden the people who are trying to rescue you don't need to do that. Right. They need to get out of the way so you can keep your balance between the two.
And I know with your big fundraiser you have coming up May 9th where you're raising money, that's your primary fundraising effort. But you have a lot of companies and individuals who are part of this too. You've picked up a lot of friends and supporters through the years.
Absolutely. We were like Frank Venegas, Patrick Ruggiero, Comerica Bank. We've been able to have the Southeastern Michigan Community Foundation and things like people like that, and they invest in us because for every $1,000 we touch a young person and their family, and they become part of the solution to the issues that go on. Wow. Which is why we really appreciate housing starts. We appreciate building the community. It gives them a positive feeling. Right. When they went down to the bank, I mean when you went to your park and we saw the Ralph Wilson, it was just unbelievable. This gives them all a positive way to see life, and then they want to go forward with it.
So did you guys go down the bear slide?
I don't know, Father John, did you go down the bear slide at the park?
No, I thought it was not prudent. I thought ahead. I reflected.
I have gone on the bear slide. I absolutely have.
It wasn't not right for me. Okay.
So Ryan, you run the Conservancy, and I know that's a whole other talk show, which we will talk later about that. But just how is it doing right now? I know that there were some issues. It's in the revamp mode. How's it doing right now?
It's going incredibly well. And I know the last time that we had the opportunity to be here on the show was right before the opening of Wilson Park. Here we are about 6 months later. And we're starting the warm season. We're getting these 60, 70-degree days. And it's incredible to see not only Wilson Park, but the entire riverfront, fill up with glowing faces and families that are there to make memories together.
And Carol, as I'm a member of the board of directors of the Riverfront Conservancy, and I cannot extol enough how great Ryan has been. He's done such a tremendous job of really carrying on the Riverfront Conservancy tradition and right-sizing everything that tragically, occurred prior to his taking over this mantle.
Right. Well, and we're talking about the CFO there who embezzled money, went on for a long time. He's in jail. He's long gone. So it's, the rebuild mode here and all this goes. But I go back to, Claude, you're involved with tourism. Certainly that park and that bear slide and other things, a signature part of what people are going to be talking about in the future, right?
Well, we had the #1 river walk in the country before
that bear.
Wilson Park. So when you think about that, it's almost like we're the best, and now we're getting even better. And I'm so proud to be associated with this conservancy because, again, from Belle Isle to the Ambassador Bridge, we've got the best river walk in the country, and it's only getting better.
It's getting better and better. Well, speaking of getting better and better, this conversation is going to get better. But first, we need to pay a few bills. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Michigan Matters right after this. Welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're talking with Life Directions founder and CEO, Father John Phelps. Visit Detroit's Claude Molinari and Detroit Riverfront Conservancy's Ryan Sullivan. And Claude, let me ask you, because you are involved with bringing conventions, you're involved with business and tourism. One of the conversations you and I have had for years is about lack of hotels to be able to bring big events here. I know there's more hotels coming. We got the JW Marriott, which is coming right by Huntington Place. Anything, I'm hearing rumors of another hotel. Anything you can tell us?
I'll just say this. I wake up every morning and I go to bed every night trying to develop more hotels in downtown Detroit specifically to service the convention center needs. And I think that we'll be having more announcements about that soon.
I think that sounds like something's in the works here. How important is it to have more hotel space?
Well, it's critical. I mean, we've lost over 600,000 hotel room nights for events that would have come here, but we didn't have enough hotel rooms to support them. So if they want to have, let's say they come and say, we have 6,000 rooms. If we can only give them 4,000, they don't take 4,000, they take 0 and bring it to another city.
Wow, yeah, this is what happens here. So, Father John, obviously running a nonprofit, you're looking for funds to help support the wonderful work that you're doing here. This is a challenging time in our economy right here with inflation, with gas prices, and a bunch of other things. You have a lot of corporate support.
Yes.
They're looking at things, a lot of cutbacks going on. How are you doing as an organization, financially speaking?
We're looking to be able to grow. We're right now in one of our schools. We want to go to a second school. In order to do that, we need to have the funding to do that. And we hope this event will give us the power to be able to deepen our footprint in Southwest Detroit and go to the next school.
And you also, again, this event is May 9th.
May the 9th.
This is a big deal. In fact, do
Absolutely.
you guys have to give speeches and all that kind of stuff too?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Father?
Yeah, we're going to be awarding them the Lifetime Achievement Award for what he's done as a role model, as a peer leader. And so he's an adult mentor for all these young people. He can be seen as a role model. And then with Claude, it's just as business community grows and everything happens, the young people have more life. So they see more vibrancy there. And so it's just wonderful that they don't need to have a hotel. They need to have a home. They need to have a home where they can go to a school and they can make the school work for them. And that's what we're looking for. And so all the funding that comes individually comes, and that would be like $250 a person.
Right.
We can get funding for the Silver Award, the Gold Award, the Platinum Award. We had all those. And
It's a worthy cause, certainly, to be sure
absolutely.
here. Ryan, you're running the Conservancy. We know after what happened with the CFO, and I know there were some entities who were supporting it who were kind of upset. Are they coming back, or where does it stand in terms of what you're seeing?
Yeah, our organization has been incredibly resilient
Yeah.
throughout this challenge, and as we said previously, celebrating the opening of Wilson Park couldn't have happened without an entire community of support. Of course, the Wilson Foundation. We were here with Dave Egner last time.
Right.
The Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan, which Father John mentioned earlier, among many, many others, philanthropic, corporate, and individual support. And it's been great that we've had such strong support throughout this period of time, and some folks that needed to take a pause are starting to come back, and we really appreciate that.
What is amazing about our community is how supportive that we are at helping each other, particularly young people. I go back to even the upcoming Detroit Grand Prix, which goes on the end of May here, which has, not only is it free for the public for a lot of the viewing areas here, but there's much to help young people getting involved in things like STEM and learning more about auto and manufacturing, right?
Oh, there's no question. And the Penske Group has done such an amazing job. And this is as much a philanthropic effort as it is, because this is not a big money profit for the group. They host this event here in Detroit, and it's a lost leader, but it's great for the community.
And a quick word here about Dan Gilbert, who I know has supported so much with the NFL draft and other things too. We know Roger Penske did the 2006 Super Bowl, NFL getting it here. Dan Gilbert has been a champion too, and Bill Ford doing his things as well. But tell me about Dan Gilbert.
I don't know that I could overstate how fantastic he has been for the city of Detroit and for Visit Detroit. I mean, the Bedrock has helped us, and Dan Gilbert specifically has been one of the key factors in getting a lot of these events here, making those phone calls to those decision makers and putting some pressure on them. We could not have gotten where we are without him. That's a fact.
Yeah, maybe you should be calling Dan Gilbert and put him on your board there too. It sounds like
Absolutely.
maybe.
Carol, I think it's interesting as you were talking to note the connection between all three of these things. So Father John's work in Western High School, Southwest Detroit, less than a mile from Wilson Park. In between there you have Michigan Central, and then you're about a mile from the JW and Huntington Place. So when you see all these things working together.
It's called convergence,
Yes.
and it's amazing. I want to thank you gentlemen so much for being here. We're out of time. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Congrats to you. Look forward to May 9th. Thanks to you at home for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you next Sunday for a little bit more Michigan Matters.